Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming here. We will be having a symposium on internet addiction, its utility, and the myths involved associated with it. Our first presenter is from Argentina. She is Dr. Marcela Vasquez. She's a developmental pediatrician, and she will be presenting and talking about the internet in those countries, its utility, and the problems associated with it. Dr. Marcela Vasquez, please.
Thank you for the introduction. Well, today I'm going to talk about internet services, online mental health services, a perspective from Argentina. Internet as a tool, as we can compare perhaps with a knife, in the hands of a surgeon could save life, but in hands of a psychopath could end lives. So there are different sides of the uses of the internet. So there are no conflict of interest or nothing to disclose. A little bit of context. Argentina population is very similar to Canada or Spain. It's the second largest country in South America. The 95% of the people lives in urban areas. Just in Buenos Aires lives around of 17 million of people. And the penetrance of internet is around, depends of the sources, between 80 and 90%. More numbers. Countries that spend the most time on internet per day, Argentina occupied the 4th place with 9 hours and 46 minutes, which of those only on social networks is 3 hours and 32 minutes. The difference is because in Argentina we work a lot with internet, providing services and as another tool, not only as a spare fee. In a history of providing health, we have two big hinges, internet and COVID. Before internet, we have emergency phone lines, 24 hours, 7 days a week, as well in national poisoning centers. When internet arrived to every houses, every homes, at the same time, in different institutions with specialists as Hospital Garaham, Italian hospital, Fleming, it's a neurological institution, provide doctor-to-doctor, institution-by-institution services, first by fax, an asynchronic way, and then as a synchronic way. In 2000, the first workstations started working, around 38 workstations, and then a growth with the time. But at first without enough training and guidelines and in middle of a social, economical and political crisis. And then COVID arrives. A little bit of what happened in healthcare system in Argentina. It's regulated as a federal level and it's provided at a provincial and municipal level. That's why it's very different, depends of different regions, of course. In bigger cities, such as Buenos Aires, capital city, the health system, general, and mental health in particular, is mixed. It's public and it's private as well, as a security private way and in different private institutions and ways of providing this kind of services. The largest estimated official realized that 81% of the population of capital city has access to private health systems, while 19 only have public health coverage. And the public system is a good system. We have the same specialists working in the morning in the public system and in the afternoon and in the evenings in the private. It's the same people. And the hospitals were provided with the things that they need. But the difference is mainly in the waiting list for surgeries, for procedures, for studies. COVID arrived, and mental health and psychosocial support have been identified as a priority by Southern American countries like Argentina. With increased anxiety and uncertainty due to the pandemic, the isolation has caused many people to turn to mental health professionals through telemedicine. The digital transformation in mental health has generated technological changes with benefits for everybody, for patients, for community, and the health systems. In 2020, almost 5,000 health workers conducted teleconsultation with their patients through the Argentine Ministry of Health telehealth platform, while the following year, the number of teleconsultation doubled, the same with the worker providers. According to the ministry survey, 1.5 million were performed across the country. Considering that's a registration that's not very exact, and the fact that many more consultations could have taken place but not been registered, since some jurisdictions have their own records in different provision systems and their platforms. Here is the study of telehealth and telemedicine markets in Latin America hospitals carried out by Global Health Intelligence in 2020. Here compares three largest healthcare systems in the regions, Colombia, Mexico, and Argentina. And here we see that international teleconsultation has Argentina as a lower performance. As a strength, almost 70% of the hospital of Argentina perform telemedicines in kind of nodes, and 45 higher percentages as well of private hospitals performing telemedicine. We can see here telehealth nodes in Argentina, the number of health nodes in each jurisdictions, with different shades of blue, in which one, the darkest are the more dense, with more nodes. We can see here almost 2,000 of nodes. Some of them are active mostly, and others are not. It's the 2022, but more than 1,000 today are available. Of course, we need a legal frame. Before 2018, we have some regulations, but between 18 and 19, a national health strategy, telehealth plan to provide universal health coverage and creation of advisory group. There was no centralized entity to measure the quality, impact, and efficacy at first, or ensure patient safety and professional training. Since this year, February, we have the application of a law on electronic or digital prescription and teleassistance, and of the law creating the single federal program of the computerization and digitalization of medical records. This new regulatory framework was created, which although it's an excellent step toward the digitalization of healthcare, and in particular the expansion of the use, there is still a little bit of complex scenario in practice. Here is a study about the adaptation of psychiatric practice in public and private mental health institutions of City of Buenos Aires during the COVID pandemic. It has been sent to target professionals who work in public and private mental health institutions of Buenos Aires after 2 months of beginning of the lockdown. It was an online survey with 10 self-administered closed questions, strictly anonymous. Here the results: 66% of the providers were from public institutions, and 34 belong to private. 81% of the total were able to implement online assistance, from which 100 were from private places and 72 of public. In relation with the professional reporting to have been trained on telemedicine tool, 69% were from private and 12 from public. The professional informed having prepared material for the users on telemedicine resources. The private system count with 70% and 36% of the public. 68% mentioned that their service was properly organized. Some of the professionals, may have been reassigned to work on tasks related to the pandemic. 41% were from public sector, no professional of private sector. 40 of the total reported a reduced capacity of assistance. The mental health services of Buenos Aires may have been able to migrate their assistance to telemedicine. However, it was noticed differences in the training levels and better capacity of training on the modality, of course, were needed. What about the present? In the last few years, the adoption of technology has broken down barriers, such as the resistance of doctors and patients concerning telemedicine, and the non-presential nature of medical care. In addition, the effectiveness and ability to provide rapid responses to many health conditions have been proven, as well as the capacity to a lower cost. There has also been increased knowledge, technological development, and regulatory frameworks to make transaction transparent, provide greater patient security, protect data, establish electronic medical records, and adopt electronic prescriptions. What about the future? Argentina is beginning to consider future scenarios of artificial intelligence and developing studies on the impact and effectiveness of telemedicine and telehealth systems. This experience could be the first steps to providing quality services, increasing access, reducing the stigma that mental health still generates in Latin American culture. However, today, it's uncertain whether this can be sustained over the time, because healthcare laws, privacy protections, and reimbursement policies, especially in the private systems, are struggling to keep up with this fast-growing industry, leaving implementation sometimes isolated and scarce. As a conclusion, technology crosses all spheres of life, and psychological problems are not immune to this change. On one side, the internet could offer negative influence and unsafe or unmoderate space to discuss emotional or sensitive topics between peers, which may allow for potential harms to users by spreading triggering contents, misinformation, or hostile interactions. The rapid growth of telemedicine arrived with difficulties as a challenge in developing and maintaining a therapeutic relationship with some patients, some pathologies, the youngest, the eldest, which question of ethical security and confidentiality, which could resolve with necessary legal framework in telecare and electronic prescription law. And finally, training for health provider was needed beyond the traditional skills required. On the other side, online education programs transform into tools for enhancing and developing skills in mental health care among community health workers or non-specialists, working as a net to connect and provide assistance. In addition, development of instruments such as artificial intelligence or apps promise to help users and professionals manage and monitor symptoms. Remote assessment is a valuable tool, but as an instrument, I believe it needs to be integrated with in-person care service so they can be fully coordinated and be part of the care pathway. Technology must be at the service of people and not the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vasquez. Do you have any questions? Anybody? Okay. If no questions, then we will move to the next presentation. Is my presentation there?
Yes.
I hope you all can hear me. So I will pick up from the same place where she left. 4 years ago, my name is Dr. Nasir Khan. I was professor of psychiatry in Pakistan and president of Pakistan Psychiatric Society. And recently I moved to Canada and I'm practicing there. So I have the taste of both the places, a double developing country and a developed country, North America. So that is my experience, and I will definitely would like to share my experience from both the ends. When Dr. Vasquez mentioned that there is a possibility of utilizing the internet for the better healthcare provision across the globe, I absolutely agree with it. 4 years ago in WPA World Congress, we presented a presentation, and it was two of the presenters, other than me, were against the internet usage. And they felt that the internet usage is a complex and very addictive, and it leads to lots of psychological and mental health problems. This was before COVID. But unfortunately, things changed. So computers, smartphones, tablets are indispensable part of the modern society. All of you are carrying the tablets and the cell phones, right? You are all the time in touch with the people around the globe. Sometimes the family, sometimes the professionals, sometimes the colleagues and other people around. Why to be concerned about the usage of these? Because we believe, some of us, well, not all of us, I will reserve my opinion about it. Some people believe that as a mental health professional, we encounter a negative impact of the internet. Like there was a video game called PUBG, and people who were using it, they realized that probably some of the youngsters were committing suicide after playing that game. I was a bit skeptical about that viewpoint. Is really the game cause of the suicide, or was it something else?
Sorry, what game was that?
PUBG. So PUBG was the game which was launched about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, just before COVID, and people started feeling that the young adults were committing suicide after playing that game. It was very intense, emotionally draining kind of a game, and guess what? So I was, as a psychiatrist, I never believed it. I believe that probably the people who were committing suicide playing that game were more emotionally drained because they were already suffering from some mental health disorder. There was no study conducted as far as the mental health professionals are concerned. So that was the concern, that youngsters playing video games, social media, on the internet is a concern. So there are maladaptive sequences. And then people believe that it's addictive, right? We are always on the phone. And proliferation of the research, it's very few on the internet and its impact on the general public. Impact schoolwork, home, and interpersonal relationship, that is the concern as well. Now, what is the magnitude of the problem? I give you just my own example. I get up early in the morning. The first thing what I do, I check my emails, right? I check the emails because I'm receiving emails from Pakistan, from other countries, from my research colleagues, from my other colleagues working in different areas for collaboration, for continuation of the processes in psychiatry and mental health. Lots of publications. We do have to exchange the emails to make sure that everything is okay. The first thing in the morning is actually looking at the internet, looking at the emails, and responding to them. And there are lots of junk emails, so every day I'm sure you people will be having the same experience. There are at least, if you see 10 emails, 80% of them are the junk emails. So you have to discard them, put them into the trash, delete them, and 2 of the emails are concerning you, to which you have to respond back. If you forget, then probably you forget. And after that email exchange in the morning, then I start my day. And then my day starts on the laptop, on the computer, because my organization allowed us to see the virtual here. After the COVID, we have a very safety network developed there, and it's very much into the process that we provide video conferencing consultation to our patients. It's a huge region where I provide the services. So before COVID, I was traveling for at least a couple of hours to reach to a clinic, provide the services from 10 to maybe 4, and then spending 2 hours commuting back home. With COVID, things changed. Those 4 hours of the travel time disappeared. And those 4 hours were utilized to see more patients, provide more healthcare facilities. So if I was seeing, say, 6 or 7 or 8 people in a day, with this virtual care, the number increased to 10 and 12. The services were developed in a way that the social worker is sitting somewhere else, the nurse is sitting somewhere else, I am sitting somewhere else, and the patients are at home. And they feel it very convenient. No harsh weather problems, no driving hassles, no fuel constraints of putting the fuel in the car and driving to the doctor's clinic, no wait time. We gave them the appointment at 9 o'clock, they join us and everybody is virtually there from different places. We provide them consultation, we write the script and we click a button and the script is faxed to the pharmacy without any problems of being again hacked, because it's a fax going out through the computer. So it's safe. And then there was initially, in the beginning of the COVID, problems with the Zoom. Zoom was hacked. There was big trauma that, well, it's a breach of confidentiality. Now these virtual care systems are very nice, very methodologically safe and secure, and we can use them for the utility of healthcare provision. So, major public health issue, is it really a major public health issue? All of you sitting here, just think about it. How much time do you spend on the internet? Dr. Vasquez gave you the data that this many hours every day people spend on the internet. And of course, it's different from different countries. I will present you something a little bit more than that. So, the internet is used for gaming, social networking, online gambling, online shopping, virtual sex, and information is overloaded. You print a word, you type a word, God, and there will be 11.8 million articles mentioning God. The first 10 of them are actually, you won't believe them, just try it. There will be some kind of articles which will probably make no sense. So people have the capabilities of utilizing their resources to make sure that their article is at the top of the list. Google was trying to, again, smooth down these things so that articles which are more scientific related, they should pop up first, and the irrelevant articles of the personal views in the comments should go down. How much they are successful, I don't know. Because I still write a word and I get millions of articles, and the first 10 or 15 or 20 are absolutely, again, not usable, at least by me. I cannot even read them. So the information is overloaded. My patient comes in, talks to me, and he says, I have ADHD. Give me an ADHD pill. I said, what? Why? Who diagnosed you ADHD? I searched it on the Google, and all the symptoms mentioned there, I have them. And then when I start asking further questions, I tell them that you don't have ADHD. It's although you're fulfilling the criteria which is present on the Google, but being a professional, I know that these symptoms are present in multiple other disorders as well. Probably you are having anxiety disorder or OCD or something else. You don't need the ADHD pill. No, doctor, I need the ADHD pill, give it to me. So then it's a controversy between the Google doc and actual professional psychiatrist. And this is a very common phenomenon. And I'm usually surprised how people are impressed with the Google doc. Well, maybe one day with the AI thing, the diagnosis and the treatment of the psychological disorders will be much more streamlined and better, of course. I don't disagree with that. And maybe we as a psychiatrist will be obsolete, but for the time being, whatever the Google is telling is much more different than what you actually are seeing in day-to-day practice. This is what my idea is. You may be wrong. Now look at this slide. This is a very, very interesting slide. If you see Walmart, now major key supplier of almost everything that you use in a day. Food, shoes, clothes, maybe side glasses, tablets, telephone, everything. You buy it from Walmart because they are cheaper and everybody can access it. And the total worth of Walmart providing you everything that you need in a day is $24.9 billion, right? This is the total worth of Walmart. Now look at this one. This is the Apple, right? The worth is $182.8 billion, which is probably 10 times or 8 times more than Walmart. So whatever we are using from head to toe costs only 25 billion, and whatever we are using in our hands cost 190 billion. Now, they are such powerful people having hordes of money, probably more money than any budget of any of the developing countries, or maybe developed countries as well. Look at the Microsoft, $104.9 billion. Facebook, $95 billion. Amazon, $70 billion. If you combine only these five, it's unimaginable how much money these technology people have. Huge amount of money as compared to all the other things. It's huge. Now, you know, we live in this world, and what we say, money makes the mayor go. Wherever the money is, the business is there. They are booming, they are flourishing, they are escalating. Can we really fight with them, go against them, change the system so that there is no internet, no Microsoft, no iPhones, no Apple, no Google, no Amazon? Can we do that? I don't think so. It's humanly possible. But we are still concerned that internet is a rich source that reach vast audiences on daily basis. Yes. The average Pakistani watches 4 hours of internet each day. What Marcella gave the quote, Dr. Vasquez, I'm sorry, I'm informed a little bit. So she gave the figures of 9.4 hours. In Pakistan, it's 4 hours. 1.66 million movies tickets were sold in Pakistan in 2021. All internet movie stuff. Then 1.91 million movies were watched in just 1 year. All on Netflix, Amazon, and other movie providers' channels. The average internet user spends 61 hours per month on the internet in February 2022, which is again a huge thing. But we are still concerned, and research has shown that media presentation influence the viewers and readers as they think around us. This is the quote I gave to you with the Google Doc, the diagnosis, and the treatment the patients asked me. I am having OCD. Give me a pill for OCD because I searched it on the Google. People often respond to mental health labels based on the ideas and images they have, not based on the behaviors they encounter. Most of the people believe that the mentally sick people or having mental disorders, they are the people who are aggressive, violent, and these are the images which they take from the Google or other movie bot. Members of the public report that most common source of their information about mental illnesses is the internet. So the ideas and the images people have about mental illnesses are often those that come from internet. I want you to look at this small clip. Focus on the words this person is saying. This is a clip from a very famous movie, Joker, which was released last year, probably 1.5 years ago. And this movie made a super duper business across the globe. Just listen to what they say.
heard this song on the radio the other day, and the guy was singing that his name was Carnival, which is crazy, because that's my clown name at work. Until a little while ago, it was like nobody ever saw me. Even I didn't know if I really existed.
Arthur, I have some bad news for you.
You don't listen to you. I don't think you ever really hear me. You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts. But you don't listen. Anyway, I said, for my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed. But I do. And people are starting to notice.
They've cut our funding. We're closing down our offices next week. The city has cut funding across the board. Social services is part of that. This is the last time we'll be meeting.
Okay.
They don't give a shit about people like you, Arthur. And they really don't give a shit about people like me either.
Am I supposed to get my medication now? Who do I talk to?
I'm sorry.
This one dialogue actually hits me like anything. Here, everywhere. People don't give a shit about people like you and people like me. As a psychiatrist, people don't give a shit about me. And as a patient, my patients, people don't give a shit about them. This movie conveyed a message across the globe to reinforce their belief system. This is the message the media actually gives to the masses. And that's the reason why we are called the shrinks, are not people, mental health again, ourselves labeled as, most of the psychiatrists are not cases by themselves. Is it really so? Do we really see that? It's not like that, but this is what is happening. You must have watched all of these movies, The Beautiful Mind, The Schizophrenia, The Frontier Mindset, The Canvas. All of these movies and lots of other movies that you watch related to the psychiatric mobility, they always, some way or the other, convey fiction into the reality. And that actually creates lots of problems. So people who are suffering from mental disorders are portrayed as, again, people who are aggressive, violent, murderers, and all those things. And we have done so many researches, and most of the research papers, they predict that 30% of the people who commit these kind of crimes have mental disorders. 70%, more than 70%, they don't have mental illnesses, but they do still, again, are involved in various kinds of crimes. So majority don't have mental disorders. Only minority have mental disorders, which in general population is the same proportion. And I really get worried about it. This is an old movie. Probably you might have watched that as a movie as well. Now look at, I hope you all have worked in the one way or the other related to the mental health facilities. We give ECT to our patients. This is one of the, actually, the best kind of the treatment in any of the resistant cases. This is the impression that they give when the ECT is given to a patient. Just look at it again. This is a very famous movie again.
Take the cigarette break, boy. It's easy. I'll be fine.
Would you sit up, please?
Love to.
Another boy.
There might be a little fluid in them boots, you know what I mean, boys? A little leak. Light shine, boys, and send the specimen to Nurse Ratchet.
All right, out with your gun. Out with your gun.
This won't hurt. It'll be over in just a moment. Uh-huh. What's that?
Conducted.
Oh, that will be it. Right, Mr. Jackson?
Open your mouth.
What's that?
This will keep you from biting your tongue.
Well,
Now just bite down on it. That's right. Just bite down.
huh?
Now bite down on it.
You ready? Here we go.
Now, after seeing this clip, do you think any of my client who needs electroconvulsive therapy will go for it? Probably no one. And I have to convince them that scientifically, the electroconvulsive therapy is a good treatment. It's not the way which is shown in the movie. It's actually a very safe treatment. Now we give it a modified ECT. You won't be able to feel any pain. You won't be jerking like this. The person who is having jerks like whole of the body, it will be just a small dose of anesthetic given to a person, and then we give the electroconvulsive therapy, and the patient is okay in 20 minutes, and they can go back home in about 1 to 2 hours time, maybe less than that most of the time. But this is what the media conveys. So, unfortunately, in youngsters, addiction is reported from 38% to 90% on the internet. Variation is due to, yes?
In which country is this? The big 90% in which country is this?
Well, general data, this is what I was trying to convey, 38 to 90%. Various studies quote various figures, but minimum is 38%, maximum is 90%. There are at least 18 studies which quote various number of figures. The problem is again, the study design. With most of these studies, the study design has some kind of a flaw. And then there are diverse assessments, diagnostic criteria. Now, only recently in DSM-5, there was a diagnostic criteria mentioned about the internet addiction. It was not there earlier, and I still have some problems with that criteria. Then there are cultural bias. There are study sample sizes. How do you take the samples for these kind of people? That is also tricky. So, and the comorbidities with other psychiatric disorders, they were never mentioned actually in most of these studies. You sit and read these studies, they haven't assessed the people with internet addiction with any other prior psychiatric morbidity, most of them. And if people are already having a psychiatric morbidity and you blame them for an internet addiction, is it really an internet addiction or is it a psychiatric morbidity leading to some other problems? So my question is, are these studies really authentic in a way that is sound, good studies which are accepted across the globe? I have my, again, reservations about it. And people say that most of the psychiatric disorders like ADHD, MDD, anxiety disorders, low self-esteem, impulsivity, social anxiety, OCD, bullying and personality disorders, and the suicidal people, they have the internet addiction more common as compared to the normal healthy people. Most frequent demographics are associated with male gender, single, student, time spent per week is more than 13 hours, presence of psychiatric mobility, intellectual disability, and physical disability. These are the type of the people who are more engaged in actually internet addiction. Major disorders, 65 to 32%. Suicidal ideation, 47 to 27%. Attempt, 5 to 2%. And lifetime suicidal ideation is high as well. Now, the red flags, we have to be careful about them. What is the context, the inaccuracy, the stereotypings, portrayed only as antagonists or the villains, linkage to the violence, language. We always label these kind of people with some kind of a label, which is a derogatory in most of the languages. Butt of jokes, you are crack, you are mental, you are insane. Offensive or insensitive symbols, thrillings and adventures. These are the actually attack. Now what do we have to do actually? This is what I was thinking a lot. Well, what should we do to change that? I started with my own experience about the internet. And I told you from morning, from 8 a.m. till 5:30 or 6, I am on internet. I have to see patients, I have to attend meetings, I have to check emails. And I'm sure most of us across the globe are also having the similar kind of problems after the COVID. It was not before COVID, but after COVID, definitely things changed, and Dr. Vasquez mentioned as well. We don't have any complete reporting guidelines related to the internet usage and related to the psychiatric mobility, combining both of them together. We don't have trained staff to assess whether this is an actually internet addiction or it is a psychiatric morbidity leading to some kind of addiction, leading to some kind of a complication. So we are stuck there as well. There are so many news channels. You sit on the computer, you sit on the TV, it's so difficult now to choose a channel to watch. I'm sure your countries will be having the same problems. But in my country, there are 152 TV channels in one single TV. What to watch? So a movie, a drama, a play, a news, a game, or whatever. There are at least 50 to 60 sports channels, and everybody watches their own favorite sports. Some people are watching cricket, some people are watching boxing, some people are watching something else, and they definitely thrill them. It's such a big thing. 50s channels. So we have to develop a strategy for evaluation if we really want to, again, confirm it, prove it, that internet is basically a problem. And we have to then make some changes. And we have to make sure that the media is on our side, the psychiatrist side, not against us. If they are against us, we are chaotic, we are in a problem, and we will be definitely having lots of problems. So I will end up here with just a question. Of course, this is my viewpoint, that I believe that internet and usage of internet, as Dr. Vasquez also mentioned, the same, can be used to improve the services, to improve the consultation and provision of services of mental health to the places which are far from people to reach and have access to appropriate services. It can be used very nicely. You can sit on the phone and you can have a consultation, diagnosis, and appropriate treatment if you need it. Now there are a lot of applications available on the net, on the iPhone, which provides the CBT, DBT, family therapy, movies, related materials, everything is available there. But you have to guide your patients to go to an appropriate thing to get an appropriate help. But unfortunately, there's a trick there as well. People who are living in USA, if they have to consult a psychologist for a therapy session, the psychologist will charge them $200 for a session. And the same psychological help, so-called DBT or CBT, if they hire a psychologist from a developing country like India, Bangladesh, they will provide the same therapy in less than $10. Now, I question myself, are they same? The services which are provided by a psychologist in $200 are the same as compared to the services which are provided in less than $10 in those countries. Are those qualified people who are actually providing the services? I have doubts. I have great doubts. And we have no way of assessing that this is a genuine, qualified person who is providing the mental health services, or maybe he is just a fake one and earning money. And what kind of psychological help they are providing? It's a questionable thing. There are definitely lots and lots of problems associated with it. And I am confused. So I need help from all of you. Thank you very much for listening to me. And any questions, we are here to respond to them. Yes. Please.
Sorry for everyone, I was running late, but thank you very much for your fantastic thoughts and presentation. I'm a psychiatrist, practicing in Australia, but actually I'm from here. And anyway, in Australia I practice a lot of animal-assisted therapy. And with this COVID area, having got stuck here for 8 months, could return anyway with the dogs, how to go around, I was thinking a lot. And I was thinking a lot as a psychiatrist in our senses. For example, and I have the problem, doctors Google, Dr. Facebook, or whoever, doctors tell you that I need ADHD drugs right now. I think we all know the problem. I was thinking in senses. For example, what senses do we have? And how actually are they forgetting about them, or how they disappear? For example, the picture we have, telehealth, is a two-dimensional picture. There's a little bit of time lag between, which confuses our brain a little bit. There's an issue with the eye contact. We think we look at each other, that's how our brain has been designed, but we don't. Our eye contact actually is transmitted via the camera. And that already causes quite some confusion. But with our tactile senses, again with animal-assisted therapy, during the lockdown then we had, because I'm also fully registered by the hobby breeder, so with puppies, the craving of people to disappear behind the fence, just to interact with the puppies, because I could write a book, it was just amazing, okay? But it was also very sad.
Yeah.
And then, our tactile senses, olfactory senses, I said the two-dimensional tactile, olfactory, temperature, all these actually disappears.
Absolutely agree. Now, you have asked 2 questions.
Sorry.
The first question is, do we really feel that we are handicapped because we are not using all of our senses, right? And second, do you really feel that that is a good strategy to assess the patient? So, responding to the first question, what I do is, usually, when I am virtually seeing a patient, there are 2 situations. One, the patient comes to a healthcare professional like a social worker or a psychiatric nurse from their home to the main center in their area, and I'm sitting in another city, but I'm providing the link. So I ask the social worker or the psychological nurse who is there to assess the patient for all these vital signs and other stuff. This is what I do. Of course, there are limitations to it. And when I am doing clinics in some of the areas where the resident doctors are actually physically present there to assess those patients, that is a good way. And if none of these things are available, and I have to see the patient and I have doubts, all the other senses are missing, like eye contact, the olfactory, the visual, the hearing. So it's one-dimensional thing, right? It's not three-dimensional. Then I usually ask them to come over. So one time's sake, they can travel, see me, and they can travel back. The rest of the time, the things are relatively easier. And even then, if the single interaction with the patient is not enough to complete the diagnosis and evaluation, then I call them again or admit them for a few days and then send them back. So you see, the convenience is there. You are seeing the patient at their places, and if you are a healthcare professional associated in their area, then your assessment is relatively easier. Otherwise, they can come, they can go back and have follow-ups on the virtually. This is one way of doing it. But I agree with you, yes, there are limitations. We have to devise ways. Now, how many people agree with it and how many people don't agree with it? That's controversial. People, I'm honestly telling you, the old school thought, they don't agree with it. And probably 40% of the psychiatrists have a old school of thought. So they won't agree with the virtual care. They still want to go, sit, chat with the patient one-on-one. 60% of the people and most of the youngsters, they're very comfortable providing healthcare provisions to these people. It depends what kind of exposure actually you have. And again, as I said, this is just my viewpoint. I don't have a research data supporting it. And we need data to support it. Who will provide the data? It's you, me, and people who are sitting here. If we start reporting or doing some kind of a research related to it, maybe in a year or 2 years, there'll be more articles published, and we'll be clear.
But then regardless of the distances, condoms, whatever, everything can be delivered into the country.
Yep.
How comes that we can't be delivered there? You know, it's just really also how we're thinking about as an international group. Are there any ways that we can push back a little bit at least?
I believe that we, as an international group, we should do some studies and see what is happening. Like we were 3 presenters today, but unfortunately one was not able to get the visa, so was not able to come. She is from Argentina, I am from Pakistan, and there was another person who was joining us. And if we do some collaborative, and if you look at the data which Argentina is presenting, and the data which I'm presenting from Pakistan, they are practically similar. But those data are actually not enough. We need international collaboration, so we need at least 10 psychiatrists from 10 different countries having variable experiences on provision of healthcare systems to various countries, and then mixing the data and presenting a paper. Then we'll be having more solid grounds to prove that it's helpful or it's actually a myth.
But also research data, there's some sort of control of it. For example, you only can provide research data if you're part of a university, etc. There are a lot of psychiatrists working in daily private practice who really thinking like us and like myself.
Why not? Why not to involve the private psychiatrists as well?
That's what I'm raising.
I believe that all the psychiatrists, whether they are working in the public sector or the private sector, we should all be on board and of course contribute and give the opinion. Only then we'll be able to come to the consensus. Like MDD criteria is now very solid. You go to Australia, you go to Pakistan, you go to Bangladesh, you go to Bhutan, everywhere the MDD criteria is the same. And everybody agrees on it. All the psychiatrists agree on it. They don't have any ifs and buts into it. But for some of these problems, we have variable opinions. I think it will be soon very much materialized. I'm hoping for that day, but I'm willing to contribute in any way if that is possible. Yes, please. Yes.
enjoyed your comments on internet addiction, and I emphasized with how kind of you was talking about how in Pakistan, that, yeah, there's just a difficulty of kind of specialists that have enough knowledge to be able to diagnose complexities of comorbidity and say whether or not it is or it isn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm just also drawn similarly to kind of the clip you played about the Joker, isn't it? That in which the message of the clip was there's a wider social system around there, and people are pulling funding. And no, yeah, it just struck me the fact that there is a wider question about, is this system able to support the assessment and diagnosis of internet disorder and things like that. And there are similar examples. Hikikomori, for example, which is acute social isolation. That's also a big question in terms of, is it just social isolation, is it a new diagnosis, or is it another thing? And the last point, if I may, looking at the force of the internet and its role in kind of people and social media, I think this wider point of social psychiatry and how kind of psychiatry is not just a person's problem, but also the wider social problem as well. I think I have to say that's one of the narratives that is quite new in psychiatry. It's not like, obviously there's psychiatrists that have said this, but the people need to hear more about it. And yeah, I guess I agree with your points that we should use more people, like, the media, to speak about it, and perhaps social media as well. As they say, you can't beat them, join them.
I absolutely agree with all the points that you made. Yes, we need more professionals who will be able to understand all the dimensions of the internet addictions, including the psychiatric morbidity assessment, evaluation. And then, of course, we need more mental health care professionals who will be able to intervene and do something about it. And we need more research as well. And this is what my viewpoint is as well. Thank you very much for reinforcing what I said. Okay, yes.
I know someone who is employed by Facebook and now in dance in Poland, and beautiful view to the North Sea. They're not doing a home office, they're nicely working together, so it's very interesting to see, to hear.
I'm just live on the YouTube here as well for my presentation. And you see, this will be going to too many places and lots of people would be able to see it. But as a psychiatrist, our viewership is probably in hundreds. But if somebody is doing, say, the things that you are saying, dance, cooking, their viewership is usually in millions. And kids are fascinated with it because these people are minting money from the YouTube just showing how to cook a meal, any kind of fancy meal. And the viewership is probably in millions. This is a game. So we have to be together. We have to raise our voices. We have to be solid. We have to say, and of course, take everybody on board, like the first slide I showed you, the Google and the other people, to make sure that the voices are heard nicely, comfortably, and professionally. Thank you very much for listening to us. We are just in time. Thank you.